Hi there, I'm here today to do a little watercolor painting. I'm going to kind of try to just follow a little bit of a reference photo that I just got offline, and but basically, mostly I think I'm going to just sort of do my own thing here. I'll show you the reference photo that I got offline. I think it's really pretty. And I think I'm going to go ahead and sketch out the little bird shape. I might even actually orient my paper this way. I think you can still see pretty much of it. If not, I will pull it back out for you a little bit. And I'll probably use my new set of brushes. They are the ones that I just got here, not just the other day. Let me grab them out for you here. I saw Sharon Cullen Art preview these or review these a little bit, or did an unboxing of these, I guess you could say. And for these 6 brushes, it was $25, and they are King Art Precision round brushes. I have an 8, a 10, a 12, a 2, a 4, and a 6. And you can see them there. These are synthetic hair brushes. They have a little bit of a narrow part right here for your finger to kind of fit into. They have very awesome snap to them, and I probably will use mostly those. We'll see. I do have some Princeton snap brushes now, and I've got a this is a gray squirrel hair Martini brush in a size 12 that I might put some water down with. So yeah, we'll just go from here. I'm going to probably put it in fast forward because it's what I usually do because it takes me so long. And so I hope that you enjoy. I'll probably do a voiceover to kind of let you know what's going on. And thank you ever so much for watching before I even get started. Okay, let's get started here. First thing I'm doing is putting down a wash across the top of the page, and this is a very, very light wash. I believe I used cerulean blue and a gray color that I got from my brother on the top. It's called Neutral Gray. He sent me a set of Master's Touch Fine Art Studio colors. This on the bottom is a mixture of yellow ochre, and then I think I put in a little bit of raw umber, and you saw it was way too strong, so I just dabbed it off. I wanted this underwash, or this background wash, to be very, very light. This is a little bit of orange. I think it's permanent red and just yellow, or not yellow orange, but just orange added to it, just a tiny bit. And that's kind of going in the middle there. I'm wetting it up, and this is a violet, bright clear violet. I believe it's just I didn't mix it with anything right here at the beginning, and I'm dropping in some flower shapes, and you can see that they're spreading and moving around with the color, which is what I wanted to happen.
And there's another flower shape there. And then one more goes down right about here. I did dry off my background and then re-wet a little bit for the flower shapes. I'm using Arches 140-pound cold pressed paper. I believe it's 300 GSM. Here you see me starting my drawing my little sketch of the little bird in the center. And here I'm done with sketching out the little birdie. And down at the bottom I put those reeds, fronds, like little leaf things that were in my photo, my reference photo. And basically what I'm doing here is just filling them in. Now I'm working on the stem right now of the one flower. But basically what I'm doing is just filling them in with a wash of a light permanent yellow deep, very light wash. I mixed up some of that bright clear violet with some, I'm not sure if I put red, I'm thinking I put red violet in there with it. And I'm just going over my flowers, adding some definition to the shapes that I had put down first. Just adding a bit of more intense color in there. And that center portion there, I'm dropping in some raw umber. And lifting out a little bit of the color right there on that one portion of the flower. And I dropped in some, I believe some sepia I put in there as well in that dark center of the largest flower. Wetting it a little bit and adding in some detail on this one now. And now doing the same thing to the third one. Keep going back to that second one. I'll get it kind of the way I want it here before long. And then I'm adding a bit of water there in the center of that flower. A little too much, so I took some of it up. And that is a permanent yellow deep. And then I'm just going to drop in some darker color in the stem there, the green stem. I do apologize for the longer video this time, and I do hope that you enjoy. Normally I try to keep them a little bit shorter than this. That I think was some burnt umber, raw umber that I put in there along with the green, just to give the stem a little bit more highlight. Touching up the flowers. Now I'm going to work on the fronds down here, or the leaves, adding in some green and I wouldn't have been, I turn out, or end up, I should say, making these down here a little bit more loose, and really softening up some of the harder edges. I wouldn't have been so precise here about adding color in if I would have realized that that's what I was going to end up doing. But as you go, sometimes, things just kind of change. And here, that was some green that I was using, and now this is a little bit of orange. I think, again, I mixed some permanent red, just a tiny bit of permanent red with the orange. It's just plain orange. And you can see it there at the side. Took me a while to do all these fronds, these leaves here at the bottom. I really wish I would have realized at this stage here that I was going to go a lot looser in the end with them. But I think the end result, the overall painting, turns out really well. Still working on the fronds. I didn't realize I had left this much of that in the video. The yellow that I've put into there is permanent yellow light. I thought it just kind of gave it a pop of color. It's kind of a mixture of greens that I used. I really like my olive green in my Mission Gold paints by Magello. I really like the olive green color. And sometimes I mix that with other things, but it's a really nice green. And that's a bit of the raw umber that I added to that leaf. I think I end up in the end kind of dulling that down just a little bit, dulling those like dotty parts of that leaf down just a tad. Adding some shading now underneath the leaf, or on the leaf that's underneath the one on top. The bottom leaf, adding some shading. Doing a bit more work on the stem, helping it to stand out a bit more. And this is kind of where I begin to soften some of the sharp lines down here. I just kept looking at it and I really didn't like the sharp lines, so I softened them up quite a bit. This is the Birdie. This is ivory black that I'm using, and I'm using my tiny little number 2 King Art brush, and I'm just using little tiny lines, little tiny squiggly lines to give the impression of his soft, downy, fluffy feathers that's on the picture, the reference picture. I believe that was some Van Dyke brown, I think, that shading at the base of his tail. Now I'm with the ivory black again. I really had a good time doing this little birdie. I wasn't sure I could get him accomplished, but I'm pretty happy with the outcome. And adding a bit of gray under that those top row of feathers. This is a bit of ultramarine deep, I believe, that I mixed. Yes. Or was it Prussian blue? I can't remember, but there was definitely a bluish tint or blue cast to the reference photo, and so looks like it was ultramarine that I'm using there. It was almost black, but you could see a bluish cast to it. So kind of had a line there, so I'm taking that out. I'm just working a bit more on the wing. And adding a bit of blue down here as well. Sorry to be so quiet here. It's just not really much else going on. I'm touching up the black, ivory black on his little head, around his eye, making that a little bit more pronounced. And there, kind of under his, around his little neck, this ring of black feathers as well. Finishing off his wing, I think I used some Payne's Gray, which is also Master's Touch Fine Art Studio, a color that was in the set my brother sent me. And there's some of the same peachy color mixture. I did make it a bit more peachy instead of I toned down the red a little bit in there. And that's under his little belly, and this is his little chest, breast, I guess. And finishing that off. And touching up a little bit more of the black there, just adding those tiny little lines that make it look like he has fluffy feathers right there. And I had loads of fun doing this painting, and I really hope you enjoyed watching it. And I do have a still picture at the end for you that hopefully you can see.